Golden Audiobooks presents, narrated by Andrew Hint. Death of a Viewer written by Herbert Adams. Chapter 16. A Scrap of Paper. They were not meant to starve. One of the men servants brought in a large dish with cold chicken and sliced ham and tongue. Another brought a game pie and a bowl of salad. There was also a case of a dozen bottles of beer. Seeing that provision had been made for 30 guests who were not to come, there was ample food in the house. Stewed peaches and cream to follow, Rhoda said. Shall they be brought in now or later? Now, I think, Roger replied, and we shall not have to bother you again. That's all right. Ring if you want anything more. You are very good, my dear, Eo said in a fatherly way. Remember, we are here to work. Plates and cutlery were soon arranged, and Rhoda left them to it. She had much else to attend to, not the least being to deal with telephone inquiries that poured in from many quarters as a result of her telegrams and messages of the night before. As she quitted the room, Inspector Bellairs entered, led no doubt by professional instinct. A place was made for him. I have something, sir, I think you will want, he said to the superintendent. The doctor extracted the bullets. 3 of them, 1 in the head, 2 near the heart. Here they are. He handed over the 3 leaden objects carefully wrapped in soft paper. See if they fit the gun. Allenby, Yeo bade his assistant. You have the gun? Bellairs asked in surprise. We have a gun, Yeo replied. Whether it is the one we want remains to be seen. They are identical with those still here, Allenby reported. Too big for the Rook rifle. Then it will be up to ballistics to say if that gun fired them. Whose gun is it? Bellairs inquired, astonished at the progress made in his absence. That we have still to discover, Yeo said. They then gave undivided attention to the food placed before them. It dwindled with remarkable rapidity. The beer was also appreciated. Roger found the game pie to his liking. It had a crisp crust, unlike the soggy mess that so often serves as such, and the contents were not only kidney, bits of steak, and unidentifiable bones. He was also busy with his thoughts and left the experts to do the talking. I spoke to the man outside. Bellairs remarked after a time. No fingerprints on the window. No clues anywhere. Too much rain for footmarks. No fingerprints on the gun, Sergeant Carston said, except what may be Miss Wren's. He had attended to that. I have to get hers. People are too wise to leave prints, Yeo muttered. We have to thank the detective stories for that. Our only positive clue is the scrap of paper Major Binion unearthed. What was that? Bellairs asked. Roger told him, completing the quotation. As he was ambitious, I slew him, Bellairs repeated. One of his political rivals? Could be, Roger said, or meant to look like it. The peaches and cream disappeared. The superintendent pushed back his chair, unfastened a waistcoat button, and produced his pipe. Smoke if you like, he said. They all liked. When their pipes and cigarettes are going, he went on, let us consider how far we have got. You make a note, Carston, of the names and the chief points. His sergeant produced a notebook and biro pen and waited. First, I think we must put the Henshaws. She admits her husband threatened to shoot you and Jones, but I would not put it past her to do it herself and plan it on him, as she and Henshaw had quarreled. Henshaw, Bellairs said, the man I caught coming in from the garden, soaking wet. Roger smiled faintly. The local man, of course, wanted all the credit he could get. It was not much. Had you searched him, Yeo said severely, and not let him go upstairs to plant the gun in someone else's room, it might have clinched the matter. Bellairs made no answer. Roger remarked, I do not think you can make a case against Mrs. Henshaw. We will consider that later, Yeo said. She hates Gwenny Wren and could have put the gun in her room. Gwen says she found it among her clothes and she took it to Major Benyon. That is no proof she had not used it. She was breaking with Ewan, or he had thrown her over. We have yet to see her, but she is certainly on the list. That was duly noted, and Allenby, following his hunch, said, I think, sir, we should not overlook Jeremy Valiant, who was alone in the garden when the crime was committed. Also, of course, there are Floss and Luke Catling. Put them down, Eo nodded, but barring the political angle, which we have not yet dealt with, I think it is a love affair. The eternal triangle only, it has 4 sides. The Henshaws, Gwynnie Wren, and Ewan. I will ask Lady Bethesda what she knows of Ewan's life with Gwen. Ring the bell and get these things cleared. This was done, and the men straightened their waistcoats. When the waiters appeared, Rhoda also came to the door and beckoned to Roger. Can you spare a minute? She asked. Of course, and he followed her to her room next door. Any news? She spoke eagerly, not of importance. They're jotting down possibilities, many of which will cancel out when they seriously consider them. They do not seriously suspect Jeremy, as that man hinted. His name is on their list, but that does not mean anything. It is too absurd, Rhoda said almost fiercely. Apart from anything else, what good could Ewan's death possibly do Jeremy? At the moment, Roger replied, they are considering Ewan's lady loves. Had any down here? Not unless he brought them with him. He was here so seldom. I doubt if he spoke to a local girl except. Then she stopped. Except, he repeated, Angela Catling? No, I know nothing of her more than Jeremy told you. Then accept what? Accept nothing. I am an idiot. I do not want to give them another crazy idea. Better tell me. Jeremy has a sister, Anna, a very pretty girl. She teaches too, and keeps house for him. I introduced Ewan to her, and they may have met 2 or 3 times. Your brainy brutes might say Ewan jilted her or something, and so Jerry shot him for revenge. How do these boneheads get into the force? Roger laughed. I do not think the boneheads will accuse Jeremy or Anna unless they have much more to go on. Was that what you wanted to see me about? Not at all. Rhoda laughed too, a little ruefully. It only shows how a silly word can start things when you're all on edge. I found something I thought might help you. What is it? The letter from which that scrap of paper with the Brutus message was torn. This is it. She took from her desk a sheet from which its companion half was missing. It was a brief typewritten letter dated from a ladies' club in London. It said, Dear Lady Bethesda, thank you so much for the kind message Ewan gave me inviting me to spend the next weekend with you. I shall love to come. I hope you and Lord Bethesda and dear little Ambrose are well. Yours very sincerely, Gwynnie Wren. Is that her usual address? Roger asked. The only one I have. I believe it is a haunt of literary women. What makes you think the Brutus bit came from it? She uses this sort of paper in her work. Folded double, it serves for short letters. We have had others like it. The typing is certainly different. Yes, this was done on her own machine. You kept it on your desk? Yes. I have a clip holding all the papers concerning a special event. When it is over, I destroy them. Very methodical of you. You say many people came in here, so anyone wanting a bit of paper different from what they ordinarily use could have taken it and then typed a few words on your machine. That is what I thought. I remembered it because of all the people asked, Gwen was the only one to write to thank Lady Bethesda. A hit at me, Roger smiled. I was guilty of that omission too. It did occur to me, but I had never met her, and Ewan assured me it was all in his hands. He said I might not see her. Will it help? It helps to establish what our experts call an inside job, and it may help to exonerate Gwen. She has plenty of paper and would not need to rifle your file for a bit of her own. But we must make sure of our facts. I will soon see if this fits with the bit we have. Chapter 17. It Never Happened. Before returning to the room where Yeo and his assistants were at work, Roger crossed the hall to see how the rest of the party were faring. The scene was peculiar. The table had not been cleared. Their viands were similar to those the police had enjoyed, perhaps in greater profusion. There were wines as well as beer. Oswald Henshaw was the only person still at the table. He was in the act of refilling his glass from the port decanter. The MPS ladies formed a group by themselves on seats near the window, which had a view to the front of the house. Some of them were busy with the inevitable but praiseworthy knitting. Sandra, not far from them, had a book in her hand. Gwenny Wren had found a small desk and was busy scribbling. She might be sorry about Ewan, but her professional instincts told her what a wonderful story it would make if she could be the first to get it to the press. The men clustered together round a fireplace at the end of the room. They were speaking very seriously, but mostly in undertones. All talk stopped when Roger appeared. "Can we go?" the burly Ruddle demanded. "Not yet, I am afraid. Do they understand who we are?" Superintendent Yeo of Scotland Yard is in charge. He is dealing with everything as quickly as he can. Roger spoke patiently. He knew Yeo would not be hustled in his handling of the case by the self-importance of the parties concerned. "We are busy men in the public service," Ruddle said. "If there is any priority, we should come first." "He also is in the public service," Roger returned dryly. "His duty lies here," Gibbons said. "We understand that. Ours does not. Surely he should let us get about our business." Then Sergeant Carston appeared at the door. "Miss Wren, please." Gwen got up, taking her notebook with her. Roger followed her out. Yet he would have been interested had he heard what those men were discussing. Ewan Jones was to them no longer the possible leader of the day before, or the jolly good fellow of the previous night. He was dead, and they were blaming him for the mess in which they found themselves. When the news of the gathering became known, what would the leaders of the party say about it? What would be their attitude to the members of the Ginger Group? What would the unions think of the idea of the Supreme Council? Would Ewan's companions be regarded as rebels? "I can at least say I was against him," Ruddle declared. "Were you?" Edmonds asked. "I thought you proposed as toast." "We were guests," Dudell said. "We had to be polite." Politeness did not call for the abolition of the monarchy and all the rest of it, Boyne commented. "I wish I had never come." They wrangled for some time. Then Gibbons, with his quiet smile, spoke. "You are all making a great mistake. It never happened. There were no speeches. We chatted on various subjects, but we were all waiting for the fellows who were come today. That is the simpler line. It never happened. Surely we can keep our mouths shut." "What about the women?" Dudell asked. "Can we not keep them quiet?" Gibbons replied. "But there will be a coroner's inquest," said Boyne. "Of course there will, but they cannot question everybody. We all tell the same story. The simpler the better. Who will keep Lady Bethesda quiet?" Ruddle demanded. "She hates us and will make mischief if she can. She will not attend the party inquiry, if there is one," Gibbons said. "What do you think about it, Tom?" This was to Jeremiah, who had been listening but not speaking. "Me? I do not remember much of what Ewan did say. I was waiting for him to come to what really concerns me. Moral uplift. The degeneracy of much of the popular press is what I want to see tackled. The space that is not devoted to semi-nude pictures is mostly given to some form of gambling. The papers themselves are little more than lottery tickets. They show rows of hats or blouses or coats and ask you to guess their order of merit in the opinion of the judges. Every guess costs 3 halfpence or perhaps 6 pence. The prize may be a motor car or a lump sum in cash or even a racehorse. It must pay well or they would not keep on doing it. They entice their readers to become gamblers. Ruddle frowned at Gibbons. Why had he started Jeremiah on his pet theme? You are right, Tom, Gibbons said blandly. Stick to that, and it will be okay. It was at this point that Roger appeared. He then went with Gwenny Wren to the room where Yeo was sitting. Nothing of importance had transpired in his absence. Theories had been discussed, but little progress made. Lady Bethesda had promised to come as soon as Master Ambrose and his nurse were ready to go out. So it would have been sent for. Roger asked Yeo for the scrap of paper with the sinister Brutus message. When it was produced, there was no doubt it had once been part of Gwen's letter. The rain had affected it, but the edges, including two slightly jagged tears, coincided. This was your letter to Lady Bethesda? Yeo asked, showing her the front portion. Part of it, Gwen replied. I did not use a torn sheet. What about this? He showed the portion found in the flower bed. It looks like the other half. I did not type that on it. It was done by a different machine. Not by you. Certainly not. It was found in the garden near the spot where the person who shot Ewan probably stood. Would you draw any conclusion from that? Gwen was silent for a moment or two. I might draw several, she said, and they might all be wrong. I am not concerned in what happens to a scrap of my letter. Yeo left it at that. It was fairly obvious she would not have used something so easily traceable to herself. I want you to let my assistant take your fingerprints to see if they tally with those on the weapon you took to Major Benyon, and if there are any others. I believe I could refuse, Gwen said, but I won't. The simple operation was soon effected, and she was given something on which to wipe her hands. Is that your permanent address? Yeo pointed to the club heading on the letter. I have a room there. How often were you with Ewan Jones? A little color showed on her cheeks, but she answered coolly enough. Perhaps 3 times a week. You were closer to him than anyone else. What exactly do you mean by that? She returned, looking him straight in the face. I mean you were more in his confidence. Had he, to your knowledge, any enemy who might have wished him harm? Not to the extent of murdering him. You, if my information is correct, were angry with him for paying attention to another woman, and you had the gun with which he was shot. Can you explain that? I have explained it to Major Benyon. I was scared when I found it among my things and thought it best to take it to him. Should I have done that if I had used it? I was trying to help you. As to the other woman, if I was murderously inclined, and had I cared enough for him, I suppose I might have shot her. But I did not. Ewan and I were through. Do you know anything of a girl called Angela Catling? Yeo asked abruptly. A little. A friend of Ewan Jones? Gwen smiled. Definitely not. Her father tells us that Ewan enticed her to come to him in London. Is that true? So the father shot him to avenge his innocent child? How did the father put the gun in my drawer? I will ask the questions. Is the story true? Most untrue. Gwen seemed amused. You mean to the best of your knowledge? Yeo spoke sharply, a little annoyed at her manner. I mean to the best of my knowledge, but, as it happens, I know all there is to know. You had better tell me. Perhaps I had, Gwen laughed, unless chasing red herrings is your favorite sport. Well, I was here with Ewan about 2 months ago, and we went to a show at the village hall. The girl Angela did a dance. Quite good for such a show, and Ewan congratulated her afterwards. He said she ought to get a job in London. She said that was what she hoped to do. He told her if she did, she should let him know. He might be able to help her. He gave her his address. He did. That is what her father said. I thought you used the word enticed. Is not that what it amounted to? A few days later, she left her home to go to him. She needed no enticing. She was jumping at a chance. A brassy sort of girl, probably thought she had only to be as near nude as possible to be a success. If Ewan had a fault, and I won't say he had not, he was a bit impulsive in offering to help people. He never expected to see her again. But one morning he got a letter from her saying she was arriving at Paddington that afternoon. He tossed it across to me. You had better meet her, he said. You told her you might help her. That was like him, too, though I believe I had said something of the sort. You met her. I did. Ewan never saw her again and never knew what happened to her. What had happened? Is that important? It may be, Yeo said. Among my friends is Madame Zada. You may have heard of her. She trains dancers and has troops in many touring companies. I rang her up and asked if the girl would have a chance. She told me one of the 6 fairy bells appearing at Hastings had fallen and broken her leg. She had no one to take her place. Was Angela any good? I said I thought she might pass. She begged me to bring her along to her rooms off the Haymarket. I did, and after trying her with a few steps, Madame Zada took her by the next train to Hastings. Madame Zada, by the way, is a highly respectable person. She gives her girls food and lodging with a qualified woman to look after them, and a salary according to their merits. Is this true? Yeo asked. Oh, no, Gwen said sarcastically, all made up on the spur of the moment. But Madame Zada is on the telephone. You could check it with her. Why did not Angela communicate with her parents? Why ask me? She may have thought they would want to share her wages. It is rather rough that one of the good things Ewan did, or helped to do, should be used to smear his name. We have to follow any line that is brought to us, Yeo said, even if it is a dead end. If I may ask a question, Rogers said, what were you so busy on when I came into the dining room just now? I was writing down what I remember of Ewan's speech and what the others said about it, and my impressions generally. I thought it might be that. A useful record. I would like to see it, Yeo said. She smiled. My own brand of shorthand. Not much use to anyone else. We can deal with all brands, he returned. Is that the book? It is. I do not think it will help you. You shall have it back when we are satisfied about that. She was reluctantly handing it over when Rhoda reappeared to say that Lady Bethesda was at liberty if they wished to see her again. Yeo said he would be glad to do so, and told Gwen that was all for the present. Lady Bethesda took the seat she had occupied before. Her manner was a little more haughty. You wish to see me again? She said. I am wondering if you can tell me a little more about Ewan's private life. Yeo replied, I do not think so. His duties kept him in town. We saw little of him. What of his weekends and holidays? He seldom spent them here. You told me he brought Miss Wren and Captain and Mrs. Henshaw on previous occasions. Any others ladies, perhaps? No one who is here now. He did bring young women on 2 occasions. He called them actresses. His father and I did not approve of them. He was fond of ladies? Lady Bethesda pursed her lips and made no answer. I am told he was very attentive to Mrs. Henshaw. Is that so? If it is, it was her husband's concern, not mine, was the prim reply. What were his exact relations with Miss Wren? Others may tell you. I cannot. She admits that she and Ewan had lived together from time to time. Were you aware of that? I was not, was the chilly reply. But it does not entirely surprise me. There is really nothing you can tell me that will help to show who may have shot him. I regret there is not. Lord Bethesda has been ill for some time. I was very anxious, but Ewan troubled little about us. I can, however, tell you that Dr. Strange has seen his lordship and is willing for him to come down, presently, perhaps in an hour's time when he has finished his rest, and if it is really necessary. I do not think he can add to what I've told you. I could see him upstairs if that would be better. I will ask him. She rose. So did Yeo, but he said, one more question, please. I asked it before, but are you fully satisfied that no one could have left and re-entered the TV room during the performance? I answered it before. I cannot say it is impossible. When you are absorbed in a play, you may not notice all that goes on around you in the dark, but I was not aware of anything of the sort. With that, she left the room. Not much help there, Yeo muttered. What do you say, Binion? You have not yet explored the political angle, Roger said. Ruddle is getting impatient. He will keep. We will try to clear up this first. Do you believe Gwenny Wren's story? I do, but you can easily phone Madame Zada. You can also give her address to Luke Catling. A letter there to his Angela will no doubt reach her. As Gwen said, he will probably expect some of her earnings. Not unlikely. Let's see Henshaw. Chapter 18. Where's your gun? Captain Henshaw entered the room with something of swagger. Perhaps as other soldiers have done, he thought the best defense was to attack. Possibly the port had had an effect. Before you ask me questions, he said, there are one or two I would like you to answer. What are they? Yeo frowned. What was Gwenny Wren doing in Major Binion's bedroom between 12 and 1 last night, or rather this morning? What did those MPS mean when I heard them mutter, it never happened? We must keep our mouths shut? So, Roger thought. It was Henshaw's door he had heard closing when Gwen left him. But it was for Yeo to reply. This the superintendent did in his sternest manner. I cannot answer your second question, but I will the first. Miss Wren had found in her bedroom the gun that probably shot you and Jones. Put there, I have reason to think, by yourself. Why else were you spying on her? I was not spying. I had been to the bathroom, and I chanced to see her enter his room. I waited to see how long she would remain. As to my putting a gun in her room, that is absurd. Yet, Yeo said slowly, you had threatened to shoot you and Jones? That is a lie. Is it? I will tell you the case against you, Captain Henshaw, as verified by witnesses. You can then give me an explanation if you care to do so. You can of course refuse, but I have proof for what I am going to say. You will understand that your reply will be taken down and may be used as evidence. Fire away. Ossie muttered, but the swagger had gone. He lit a cigarette. His hand was not too steady. Before you came here, you urged your wife to encourage you and Jones to pay attention to her. Your object in so doing was you could bring an action against him and claim heavy damages. To make this easy, you asked for you and your wife to have separate rooms. On Friday afternoon, you quarreled with your wife in that hut by the river. She refused to be a party to the conspiracy. She said as you valued her so lightly, if you really wanted her, she would go to him. You told her if she did, you would shoot him. Ossie was staring at Roger Binion. He had seen him approaching the hut. It was impossible for him to have heard what was said. Quite untrue, he muttered. I have it not only on the evidence of your wife, Yeo said, but 2 young people had left a scarf in the hut and came back for it. Perhaps you noticed it there. As they heard voices, they waited for you to go. They also heard what you and your wife were saying to one another. Their story and hers tally. Ossie tried to look unconcerned. Who are these young people, he asked. That you will know in due course, Yeo replied. Later that night, you followed you into your wife's room, hoping to catch them there together. They were together, but Miss Wren was with them. Your wife had brought her for protection. The next night, Ewan was shot. You did not join the party in the TV room, but you had a game of billiards and then went into the garden. You were there when he was shot, and so far as I can ascertain, no one else left the house. You came in wet, and after a few words with Inspector Belair's, you said you must go upstairs to change your clothes. That gave you the opportunity to put the gun in Miss Wren's room. After that, as you have told me, you watched her to see what she would do if she found it. Have you anything to say? Plenty, the captain replied, making an effort to master any fears he may have felt. You say you got most of this from Sandra, my wife. She made a statement which in material respects is confirmed. Sandra is a liar. I will not deny we had a tiff in the hut, but it was because she had been flirting with Ewan and I objected. Her story of a conspiracy is sheer invention, her word against mine. We had separate rooms because there was a shortage of married quarters. Rhoda will confirm that. As to my threatening to shoot Ewan, I do not admit it, but one may talk a bit wildly when one finds one's wife carrying on with another man and reluctant to give him up. I played billiards with Major Benyon and then went into the garden and got caught in the rain, as I explained to him and the inspector. I did not shoot Ewan, as apart from anything else, I had not got a gun. Do you deny that this is your gun? Yeo produced the weapon Gwen had handed to Roger. Ossie glanced at it. Certainly I do. I have one rather like it, but mine is heavier and has my initials on it. Roger whispered to the superintendent. Where is your gun? The latter inquired. In my room in my hotel. Then if sent, there we shall find it. Ossie hesitated. Certainly, unless I have been robbed. Where exactly is it? In a locked case in the bottom drawer of my dressing chest. Perhaps Captain Henshaw, in your hearing, Superintendent, Roger suggested, would telephone the manager of the hotel to give your representative access to it. It need not be said he comes from the yard. You should get his report in less than an hour, and that will clear up this point unless, of course, Captain Henshaw has 2 guns, one without initials. What should I want with 2 guns? Henshaw said angrily, I do not like my things messed about in my absence, but I will do what you say if it will satisfy you. I could get a warrant. Yeo said, but this may be quicker. There was a telephone in the room, and he got through at once to Scotland Yard and gave the necessary instructions. You could just call yourself Walter Wingate, he added to the plainclothes officer to whom he was speaking. Henshaw then spoke to his hotel and gave a message Yeo dictated, saying Mr. Walter Wingate was on his way. I shall ask you to stay with one of my men until we get the reply, Yeo said. He did not know what other telephones there might be in the house, and was taking no risks. But first you might tell me what you meant by your other question. What was it the MPS said never happened, and they must keep their mouths shut? If I knew that I should not have asked you, Henshaw replied in a surly manner. One of them said something about making Lady Bethesda hold her tongue. You do not know to what they were referring? I was not listening. They were all nattering together, but occasionally one of them raised his voice. Yeo frowned. While you are waiting, you might see if you can remember any more. As the captain left the room, Yeo turned to Roger. What do you make of him? A glib liar, was the reply. His first line also was, it never happened, but he owned to a good deal when he realized how much we knew. Whether he had urged Sandra to flirt with Ewan or was remonstrating with her for so doing is difficult to prove. I would sooner believe her story than his, and what Jeremy Valiance told us supports it. A wife cannot or need not give evidence against her husband, but it is the gun that matters. Though she supported him, saying this was not his and his was bigger. If his is found where he says, it pretty well lets him out, unless you can prove he also had the use of another. What of his tale about the MPS? It might be true, or he might be trying to raise fresh suspicions. You must get it from them. I will. I'll start on that fellow Ruddle. But there was a digression. Rhoda came in to tell them Mr. Barclay Willis, the vicar of the parish, had called to express his sympathy with Lord and Lady Bethesda. Lady Bethesda had said they were not at home to anyone. Would they care to see him, or should she just take his message? He might be able to give us a little local color, Yeo said. Ask him to come here. The Reverend Barclay Willis was a tall, middle-aged man, no doubt very worthy and anxious to do his duty by his parishioners. He was not eloquent, but his cure was his only care beyond an insatiable fondness for crossword puzzles. I'm a superintendent from Scotland Yard, Yeo said when he entered, handing him a card. I am inquiring into the death of Ewan Jones. How did you hear of it? Dear, this is very distressing. I take it foul play is suspected. I heard of it from Mr. Valiance, our schoolmaster. I felt I must come to express my deep sympathy with the bereaved parents. It must be a terrible shock for them. Did you know their son personally? Oh, yes, but not intimately. He was not often here. Did they attend your church? Lord Bethesda did when his health permitted. Lady Bethesda is a very regular member of my congregation and a great helper in all good works. Mr. Ewan we saw but seldom. I tried to enlist his aid, but owing to an unfortunate incident, he kept away. What was the unfortunate incident? Yeo asked. Oh, trivial and quite irrelevant. It cannot help you at all. I would like to hear it. Well, it was years ago. I hope to interest him in our Lads Institute. He came once or twice, and then he agreed to captain our side in a cricket match against Little Beeford, an adjacent village. He kept wicket for us. I used to play at one time myself. I may be wrong as to the exact figures, but I think the Little Beth, as our lads called them, were all out for 72. We made that exact number for 9 wickets, and Mr. Ewan had to go in. He modestly put himself last, as he was a big man and the others only boys. It seemed a certain victory for us. He made what they called a mighty swipe at his first ball. He missed it and was bowled. It caused much laughter and has never been forgotten. They still talk of it. After that, we saw very little of him. It was indeed most unfortunate, most unfortunate. Was he popular in the village? He was respected, both as his father's son and as a member of parliament. Was there ever any village scandal in which he was concerned? Oh no, certainly not. Or, I would have been the first to hear of it. Or the last, Yeo thought. Was his name ever coupled with that of Angela Catling? Not that I am aware of. Mr. Willis spoke more stiffly. She was a restless sort of girl and went away to learn dancing or acting. You know her parents? Certainly I do. Did they say Mr. Ewan was responsible for her going away? Oh dear, no. Never. Her father suggested it to me, Yeo said. That must be wrong, quite wrong. Catling is not a very reliable person. Is there anyone else who, so far as you know, had reason to wish ill for Mr. Ewan? I am sure not, the vicar replied. Quite sure. He was murdered, Yeo said gravely. He was here with a party of friends. It would appear that either one of those friends murdered him or it was some local person. You think I can disregard the latter? It is distressing, very distressing, the vicar said again, but yes, I feel sure you can. Then Roger Binion put a question. Am I right, sir, in thinking the cricket match of which you told us was the last played on this ground? Quite right, but you must not connect the two things. It was at that time little Ambrose was born. Lady Bethesda was naturally anxious for him and did not want to risk his getting infection of any kind. Our youngsters are clean and healthy, but of course you get measles and whooping cough and the like everywhere. She also feared he might pick up coarse expressions. A little early for that. Yeo commented, did the closing of the ground cause resentment? Oh no. It was at the end of the season, and the next year Lord Bethesda saw that the village green was made fit for play and bought an old army hut for them to use as a pavilion. I think they preferred it. Was there not trouble over a right-of-way beside the river? Roger asked. Years ago, but that was in Mr. Martin's time, before his daughter's marriage. When Lord Bethesda came, he was very kind. He allowed the cricket here, and then helped with the village green, as I said. The right-of-way trouble was forgotten. Was Jeremy Valiant here at the time of that trouble? Yeo inquired. Oh no, not till years later. What is your opinion of him? An estimable young man in every way, the vicar replied. A hard worker and a good influence with our young people. He gets on well too with the parents. Not always an easy matter. He never had any difference with Mr. Ewan? I feel sure not. They seldom met. What of Dan Floss and the rest of the staff here? I suppose you know them? Oh yes. I like to know all my parishioners, irrespective of their station. All very respectable people. Thank you, Mr. Willis. You cannot help us. I regret deeply that I cannot. Is sad, most sad. I feel sorely upset. A gifted gentleman and so young. I assume there will be an inquest, though I am not conversant with such matters. Nothing of the sort has ever happened before in this neighborhood, at least not in my time. Please assure his lordship and her ladyship of my most sincere sympathy. Should they desire the interment to take place here, I will of course carry out their wishes in every respect. But I quite understand the shock is too sudden for them to consider such things yet. When he had departed, Yeo remarked, "That does not tell us much. Quite a model village." I did not expect him to say otherwise. To a psychiatrist, Roger commented, the cricket incident might throw a light on Ewan's character. He could not bear to be laughed at as a failure. But that again does not help a lot. He was a failure all right, except with the ladies, Yeo said. We had better tackle this Bill Ruddle. Chapter 19. Denials and Evasions. I consider, Superintendent, you have shown us very little consideration. I know you are faced with a difficult and unpleasant task, but we also have important work to do. This was Big Bill's utterance when he strode into the room and took a chair uninvited. Only Yeo, Roger, and Allenby were there, the last name taking the necessary notes. Bellairs had been given a job, and Karsten was in charge of Captain Henshaw. They were in the billiards room, and Ossie was trying to use the time to win a few shillings at snooker. Karsten was fairly adept at the game, but resisted the temptation. I believe you came for the weekend, Mr. Ruddle. I hope to be able to let you go tomorrow, Yeo was saying. Tomorrow? You expect me to stay another night? That may depend on the assistance you can give me, Yeo retorted calmly. I have read the statement you made to Inspector Bellairs. Have you anything to add to it? Nothing. That is why I object to being kept waiting in this manner. I understand you did not join the television party, but came to this room to write your notes. You never left the house. I've already said so, and you subsequently destroyed your notes. I also said that. You saw no one, and no one saw you until after the crime was committed and discovered. As I was alone in this room, that is obvious. I am a patient man, but what is the object of this repetition? It is waste of time. Yeo disregarded his anger. Everyone in the party was supposed to be a friend of Ewan Jones. A further discovery of the obvious. Can you suggest any one of them who might for any reason have shot him? Some of them are strangers to me. I can suggest nothing. You arrived on Friday. Were your discussions at dinner that night entirely amicable? Ruddle looked at Roger Benyon. He also had been present. Was his another mouth that would have to be shut? Politicians cannot always see eye to eye, but they remain friends. Ewan made suggestions we could not all agree with. I think Major Benyon's criticisms were as hostile as any. Roger smiled, but made no comment. He apparently was to be the scapegoat for all of them. Would you say Ewan was ambitious? Yeo proceeded. Most definitely I would. His every effort was to push himself forward. You would regard that as wrong? Not necessarily. I suppose when you were a constable you were ambitious, or you would not now be a superintendent. Can you use a typewriter? Me? What is the idea? He showed his big fingers. I never tried. Expect I'd hit 3 letters at once. What are girls for? Yeo did not seem to think that line worth pursuing. I believe, he said, while you and your fellow members were together, after lunch you discussed certain matters and agreed you must keep your mouth shut about them. Is it true? Who the devil told you that? Ruddle cried angrily. Did you expect us to sit silent until it pleased you to see us? I take it then it is true. You also said that something never happened. To what did that refer? Have you been listening at the door? This was Ruddle to Roger. I cannot help you this time, was the reply. I had not been listening. Had someone played traitor? Ruddle controlled his anger. The matter must be handled carefully. Since you say we agreed to keep our mouths shut, he said to Yeo, this seems a good time to begin. I can, however, tell you it was nothing that concerns you. Purely a question of politics. Then why was it necessary that Lady Bethesda should also keep her mouth shut? Ruddle was disconcerted. For a moment, he did not know what to reply. Was there some concealed phone in the room? How otherwise could their talk have been heard? It was odd, perhaps, that he had forgotten Captain Henshaw, who had been some way off and was actually behind him. I cannot answer that. If it was said, it was in jest. You refused to tell me what you were discussing? Dull. Members of Parliament have some rights and privileges, if even they're listened to and spied on. You disappoint me, Mr. Ruddle, Yeo said severely. Being a member of Parliament, I looked for some cooperation from you when a fellow member had been murdered. You have been obstructive rather than helpful. You might have been the murderer yourself, since we have no evidence as to your movements at the time of the crime. You were making notes, but those notes have disappeared. I must ask you to remain in the house until I say you can go. This is infamous, Ruddle cried. I shall lodge a complaint in the proper quarter. You will regret your insolence. Yeo did not answer. He whispered to Inspector Allenby to find Mr. Gibbons and to see that the two MPS did not speak to one another. There was silence in the room until Gibbons appeared. Ruddle had risen to his feet and was standing with his hands thrust into the pockets of his tweed jacket. He was aware he had not shown to advantage, but at least he had given nothing away. That is all for the present, Mr. Ruddle, Yeo said when his companion member entered. And it is all I have to say now or at any time, was the retort. But Big Bill departed with much less assurance than had entered. Roger had taken no part in the questioning. He thought it a matter for the police to handle and felt the superintendent had done it quite well. There was no bluster about Fred Gibbons. He came in smiling and spoke in his usual suave manner. Glad to see you at last, Superintendent, he said. This is a terrible affair. I wish I could help you, but I expect you know what I told the inspector last night. I am afraid there is nothing I can add to it. I shall miss poor Ewan very much. He was a splendid fellow. Your story is that after dinner that night, you went to your bedroom to read and did not come down until after the crime had been discovered. That is so. I tried first to get a 4 for bridge, but no one seemed keen to play. I had an interesting detective story and decided to finish it. When I had done so, I went to join the others, horrified at what they told me. Poor Ewan. I have lost a very valued friend. You realize, Mr. Gibbons, that with the exception of Mr. Ruddle and perhaps Captain Henshaw, you are the only member of the party who has no alibi for the time of the crime. I'm not aware of that. Naturally, I did not know what anyone else was doing. I can only tell you how I myself was occupied. As to alibis, I find in the books I read the guilty person is generally the one with the best alibi. That is not my experience, Yeo commented dryly. I gather you are interested in crime and have some knowledge of the ways of criminals? That is not quite fair, Gibbons laughed. If you were to suspect everybody who read detective stories, few would escape suspicion. It is just a matter of pitting your wits against those of the author. That may be so. There is something else that interests me. I am informed that after lunch you and your friends were discussing why you must keep your mouth shut. Will you elaborate? So Bill Ruddle has been blabbing, Gibbons said, evidently annoyed. Is not what he told you enough? From your knowledge of your choice of fiction, you must be aware that the police always require confirmation of what they hear. I would like your version of it. Gibbons considered this for some moments. Roger Benyon was amused at Yeo's adroitness. It had nothing to do with Ewan's death, though that in a way was the cause of it. Our meeting here was to be kept a secret until we decided on our plan of action. Ewan's death made that impossible. We were sheep without a shepherd. The story of the meeting is bound to become known, and the party chiefs are almost sure to ask what it was all about. Ewan took a line that might well have caused a party split. So I suggested, as the big meeting had not taken place and nothing had been agreed, we should disregard what he had said as though it had never been uttered. My idea was to avoid trouble. I hope Riddle told you so. Why was Lady Bethesda's mouth to be shut? Eo inquired. What did Ruddle say about that? I'm asking what you say about it, Eo retorted. I am surprised Bill Ruddle mentioned it, Gibbons said with rather a forced smile. I forget who it was, but someone thought my plans would not work as Lady Bethesda did not approve of us and might try to make difficulties. That is all there was to it. We reached no decision. Had you all agreed with Ewan's proposals? Indeed, no. I for one had not. You regarded him as ambitious? Eo put his inevitable question. I suppose in a way we did. If you start a movement, you no doubt expect to play a prominent part in it. You were against him? In some respects. Not all. Were any of you against him sufficiently to make his removal desirable? Certainly not, Gibbons replied warmly. We do not take our politics like that in this country. If we did, several members of both parties might be removed. I think, Superintendent, if I may say so, you are barking up the wrong tree. Poor Ewan's death had nothing to do with politics. What else can you suggest? I hate to speak ill of a friend, but I would like to avenge him. That Ewan and Gwenny Wren had lived together is common knowledge, though we did not talk about it. It was not our affair. But down here, they openly quarreled, and Ewan deserted her for Sandra Henshaw, despite her husband's presence. I accuse nobody, but I think that is the line for you to investigate. Can you tell me anything to support it? Nothing very definite. Sandra and her husband ignored one another. Why were they here? Neither of them knew the first word about politics. They both told us so. Then Gwen, who does, found herself neglected for the other woman. It is a complicated situation, but I think, Superintendent, a man of your experience and ability, especially aided by Major Benyon, will surely find the right solution. Very handsome of you, Mr. Gibbons, Roger said. You may have helped us more than you think. What, by the way, was the title of the book you were reading, and who was the villain? I will get it for you if you like, Gibbons offered. Don't trouble to do that. Tell me the names, and I will know if I have read it. No trouble at all. I am not good at remembering names. Sleeping Death, or something like that. And the villain? I'm not quite sure. It is rather poor stuff, and I went asleep over it. That is not what you told us before, Eo said sharply, nor what you told Inspector Bellairs. You admitted you had been in the garden, and your shoes were dirty. Really, Superintendent, Gibbons said, with some show of indignation, I hope you are not suggesting I had anything to do with the death of my friend. I did not mention I'd fallen asleep. It seems so immaterial due to a late night and a busy day. I did say I had been in the porch or just beyond it looking for bridge players, and I never cleaned my shoes myself. There is nothing else you wish to tell me, or to explain? Eo asked grimly. Nothing. I am sorry my efforts to assist you are not appreciated. But you admit your statement that you went to your room to finish your story is not true. I admit nothing of the sort, Gibbons said in his more soothing manner. Cannot you see, my dear fellow, I went to my room for that purpose, but I fell asleep, for which there is no confirmation? How could there be? When I came down, I knew nothing of what had happened. Everyone can confirm that, or can confirm that you said so, Eo commented dryly. That is all for the present. I may want to see you again. There is something else I can tell you, Gibbons said suddenly. There may be nothing in it, but perhaps you have not had time to investigate it. What is it? As you may be aware, this is a very old house. I have been making inquiries and looking about a bit. Below this floor, there is a labyrinth of disused rooms. Any enemy of Ewan's could easily hide there. He might be there now. There are vast possibilities you should not overlook. There might even be a secret passage in the grounds. Thank you, Yeo dryly. I can see your study of mystery stories has not been entirely wasted. Chapter 20. His Lordship. A pretty trio, Yeo muttered. Henshaw, Ruddle, and Gibbons. All of them twisting the truth, and any of them could have done it. Which was it? The one that had the gun if you can prove it, Roger replied. I would not trust Gibbons. Ewan was his dear friend, but he was quick to give the story of him and Gwenny Wren. Yet I do not see him as a murderer. Why not? Intrigue and treachery would be his weapons. From what we know of their keep your mouth shut talk, I can imagine him going to the party chiefs to sell his fellow rebels if there was trouble. He might have sold Ewan, too, had his plans taken shape, of course, from the highest motives. But I cannot see why he should kill him just at that moment. He would have waited for the bigger meeting to see how the cat jumped. What put you on to his lie about the book? Yeo asked. A chance shot. A man's reading may influence his actions. He was rather vague about it, and you generally have to get to the last chapter to know who done it. Also, I could not why a guest who wanted to finish a book should go to his rather poky bedroom to do it, when there are lounges where he could be so much more comfortable. It was all a lie. He may have been tired and wanted a nap. HM, what do you think of his man in the basement idea? Not much. It is true there are disused rooms there, and failing everything else they could be searched, but I doubt if anyone using them could have known about the television room and its arrangements. Then the ever-useful Rhoda came in to say that Lord Bethesda was in her room and would see them as soon as they were ready. Bring him in now, Yeo said. He seems really ill, the girl ventured. I hope you will not keep him long. He ought to go back to bed. She disappeared and returned a few moments later, supporting her uncle on her arm. He walked slowly and certainly seemed more infirm than he had been 2 days before. Even his hair was whiter. He was fully dressed, having a dark suit and a black tie. The men stood until Rhoda, with Roger's aide, had him seated in the most comfortable chair. I'm sorry we have to trouble you, my lord, Yeo began, and I hope you will allow me to express our sympathy in the shock you have sustained. I can assure you we will do our utmost to bring the guilty party to justice. Lord Bethesda murmured words of thanks in a shaky voice. I believe the gathering here on Friday was of your son's friends rather than yours? A nod gave assent. But you knew them? Not all of them. Can you tell me which? I knew Bill Ruddle and Fred Gibbons and Old Dayton, Jeremiah as they called him. I think I once met Boyne. The rest I only knew by name. A later generation than mine. You are referring, of course, to the MPS and their wives. Yes. I do not think I had met the wives. Would you think it possible that one of his fellow members could have killed your son? The old man was silent for some moments. Then he shook his head. I should think it quite impossible. The others in the party, Yeo proceeded, apart from Major Benyon, were Miss Wren and Captain and Mrs. Henshaw. You knew them. They have been here before. Could one of them have had a hostile feeling towards Mr. Ewan? Lord Bethesda raised a thin white hand to his forehead and stroked back his hair. I know of none, he said wearily. Why were they here? Miss Wren is a writer and has influence in political circles. She had worked with Ewan for some time. The Henshaws were his personal friends, paying a longer visit. I have reason to believe that Captain Henshaw is financially in very low water. Could he have been hoping to get money from your son? Most unlikely. He and my son were fellow officers, and he must have known Ewan could not help him. Yeo decided that until he had the report as to Henshaw's gun, it would be better not to pursue that line further. You must pardon me if I seem persistent, he said. and I know how distressing it is to you. But from our inquiries, it seems that the crime must be attributed to one of the persons we have alluded to. Will you tell me the precise object of their meeting here? My son considered our party was lacking in push. He wished to form an action group to stimulate them. A ginger group, he called it. I believe on the day they arrived, on the Friday evening, you asked him to outline his proposals? That is so. Were you previously aware of them? Again, the stroke of the forehead. I was not. They were very advanced, almost revolutionary in character. In some respects, yes. Is it possible they went far enough to provoke active hostility? A shake of the head. I should not think so. Hot-headed young men get wild ideas and love notoriety. They learn better as they grow older. They provoke opposition, but not murder. He whispered the last word, but otherwise was speaking more firmly. Lord Bethesda, was your son a communist? After a pause, the reply came, yes and no. Will you please tell me what you mean by that? Yeo spoke quietly, but he did not mean to be put off. Most of our socialists are communists, though many of them are not aware of the fact. The two words mean practically the same thing. The ownership and control of means of production, of capital and land, and their administration in the interests of all. But our socialists are not prepared to take orders from Moscow. The Russians have been ruled by tyrants for centuries, and a change as czar for a Lenin or a Stalin seemed good to them, and to some extent improved their condition. We are far in advance of that and believe in government by the people. The British would never accept government by a dictator or a group of dictators. His tone was emphatic, and for once there seemed almost a gleam of the old Welsh lion. Did not your son suggest something of the sort, though I believe he called it a Grand Council of Trade Unions? He did, but it was not to supersede Parliament. It might have led to a clash. Thank you, my lord. I think I understand. Yeo said it, but whether he did or not will be hard to say. May I turn to another matter, your son's private life? Can you tell me anything of that? In what way? Are you referring to the fact that he lived in a sort of almshouse? Not exactly. Rather to the fact that he did not live there alone. What do you mean? I do not wish to pain you, but the fact may have to come out. He lived there with his mistress, Gwenny Wren. This obviously shook the old man. His head sunk forward a little. He looked at Roger. You did not tell me this. Is it true? I'm afraid it is, Roger replied. I did not suggest it accounts for his death, Yeo said. Miss Wren admits their association, but asserts there has been a coolness between them. She is almost, if not entirely, convinced me of her innocence of the crime. I am anxious to know if your son had entanglements with any other woman. It took Lord Bethesda some moments to recover control of his emotions. I know nothing of his association with Miss Wren, nor of anything else of the sort. Perhaps I was to blame for not interesting myself more in his life. Things here were quiet for him. He seemed so occupied with his work. No breath of scandal ever reached me. Thank you, my lord. I regret having had to mention it, but I do not think it could be concealed. There is one other matter I might mention. We have been told there are a number of disused rooms in your basement quarters, and it would be possible for an enemy to hide there and then to commit the crime. Can you say anything about that? A faint smile flickered on the old man's face. I should say it is quite impossible. There are rooms down there, and in the past some antiquarian societies asked to see them. They found little to interest them. It has all been closed for several years. The Little Ease? Roger queried. The rooms were mostly storerooms, but one or two were found that it was suggested had been punishment or penitential cells. It was not definitely established. But is there access to or from them now? Yeo asked. There is not. They were approached by narrow stairs from the old kitchen. That approach is now boarded over and nailed down. It is also covered with linoleum. No access is possible. Thank you. Yeo said. We have no evidence to support any such suggestion, but as it was mentioned, I thought we ought to dispose of it. I do not know if there is anything Major Benyon would like to ask you. Not on that point, Roger replied, but I might perhaps say it was whispered among the dwellers in my father's cottages that Miss Wren lived there with your son, and that was one of the reasons for our wishing him to go. I did not mention it before, and I do not think it need become public now. I hope not, Bethesda murmured. No one told me. I can understand that, Roger said sympathetically. There are two other matters, quite different, I would like to be clear about. I am not well versed in trade union procedure, but I believe there are certain appointments to which a promising member may aspire. He may become a district secretary or a regional organizer. Then he may be elected to the national executive, which has possibilities of the highest cabinet rank. I have been told there is likely to be a vacancy shortly in the national executive, and that Ruddle, Gibbons, and your son may have aspired to fill it. Could that have created a serious rivalry between them? My son never filled any of the minor posts, Bethesda replied in a slow, deliberate manner. He may have thought his ginger group would be a shortcut to the national executive. He never said so, and I do not think it would have served his purpose. I cannot speak in any way for Ruddle or Gibbons. They, or either of them, might have regarded Ewan as a danger to their prospects. I cannot say. Thank you, Roger said. He then reached across the table and took the chart he had originally made of the seats occupied by the parties attending the TV show on the night of the tragedy. The other point is more a matter of fact or routine. You will remember I made this sketch after the crime was discovered and before the police took over. You agreed it was correct? I did. You occupied the seat number 23, nearest to the door. You would therefore be in the best position for knowing if anyone left the room or re-entered it during the show. That would be so. You are convinced that in fact no one did? His lordship hesitated. Convinced is a strong word. My attention was riveted on the picture. You were aware when Lady Bethesda turned on the light? We all were. She brushed past you. She did not ask you to do it. I hardly remember. The scream a moment later. Before he could finish the sentence, there was another scream. A piercing scream very like the one on the fatal night. But it was not in that room. It came from outside or above. It was prolonged and was followed by hurrying footsteps. There was a startled silence in the room for some moments. See what that is, Yeo said to Allenby. The inspector rose, but before he could reach the door, it opened and Sergeant Carston appeared. The screams grew louder. What is it? Yeo asked. Lady Bethesda, the sergeant said in his stolid way. You had better come, sir. What do you mean? Has she asked for me? She couldn't. She is dead. She has been strangled.